Tell them, David. Tell everyone what you actually contribute to this marriage. 14 people at the table. My boss, her parents, our neighbors, the Hendersons from her book club. She was smiling. That performance smile she'd perfected over 9 years. Go ahead. Explain to them why I handle everything, the bills, the schedules, the kids' activities, while you just exist. I set my fork down, took a sip of wine. The David from 6 months ago would have apologized, would have made a self-deprecating joke, would have absorbed the humiliation like I always did. But the David sitting at that table? He had a folder in his briefcase, a folder containing 847 text messages, 23 wire transfers, and screenshots from 5 different phones. She thought she was breaking me in front of everyone. She didn't know I'd been preparing for this exact moment for 193 days. Before we dig into the logs, if you enjoy seeing arrogant people destroyed by cold, hard evidence, hit that subscribe button. I release new case files every day. Now, let me show you the data. I'm a data forensics analyst for a cybersecurity firm. I make $214,000 a year plus equity. My job is to find what people think they've hidden. Deleted emails, encrypted files, buried transactions. I've recovered evidence in 17 federal fraud cases. I've testified as an expert witness 4 times. When I look at a system, I don't see what's there. I see the ghost patterns, the anomalies, the traces people leave behind when they think they're being careful. For 8.5 years, I never applied those skills to my own life. I met Rachel in 2015. She was working as an event coordinator for a tech conference where I was speaking. Charming, organized, ambitious. We married 14 months later. In the beginning, I thought her criticisms were just high standards. She wanted the house a certain way. She wanted me to dress better, talk less about work, be more present at her social functions. I adjusted. I adapted. I became whatever version of David she seemed to need that week. It was never enough. By year 3, the public comment started. Little jabs at parties. David wouldn't know, he's just the IT guy. My husband? Oh, he's here somewhere, probably hiding from actual conversation. I told myself it was stress, her job was demanding. Planning corporate events for Fortune 500 companies meant constant pressure. I was the stable one, the provider, the one who made sure the mortgage was paid while she built her brand. What I didn't realize was that I wasn't her partner. I was her prop, her funding source, her cover story. June 14th, 2023. 11:47 p.m. I was troubleshooting a client's compromised server from my home office when Rachel's iPad synced a notification. She'd left it on my desk that morning, asked me to update the software. The message was from someone named Marcus Jim. Can't stop thinking about last Tuesday. When can I see you again? My first instinct was to confront her immediately, wake her up, demand answers. But here's the thing about my job. I know what happens when you alert the target too early. They scrub everything. Delete the evidence, control the narrative, so I did what I'm trained to do. I went into operator mode. Over the next 6 hours, I performed a full forensic analysis of every device connected to our home network. Her iPad, her laptop, her old phone that she kept for photos. What I found wasn't just an affair, it was a system. Marcus from the gym was real. They'd been meeting for 7 months, but Marcus wasn't alone. There was Jonathan, her college friend who visited whenever I traveled for work. 14 hotel receipts, all charged to a credit card I didn't know existed. There was Devon, a client's husband. She'd been sleeping with him for 2 years. 2 years. There was Richard, 53 years old, retired investment banker, net worth around $4.2 million. He'd been sending her $20,500 a month for consulting services since 2021. $30,000 a year. Into an account at First Coastal Bank, account ending in 7834. I'd never heard of it. The messages between them were clinical, transactional. She called him Daddy. He called her his special project. I found 147 messages between them. Every single one made my stomach turn. And then there was Paul Henderson, the husband of her best friend Karen. The same Karen who was at our house every Sunday for brunch. The same Paul who'd helped me install our deck last summer. 5 men, over a combined period of 4 years. 847 text messages, explicit photos, screenshots of deleted conversations she thought were gone forever. Nothing is ever truly deleted. That's the first thing I teach new analysts. But here's where it gets interesting. I didn't panic. I didn't cry. I went completely cold. Because hidden in her financial records, I found something else. She'd been siphoning money from our joint savings, small amounts, $200 here, $350 there. Over 4 years, she'd moved $47,000 into her hidden account, $47,000 of my income. That night, I started building my black box. First, I contacted Raymond Silver, best divorce attorney in the state, $750 an hour, worth every penny. He'd handled the Greenwald case, $12 million settlement, the Morrison split, full custody, plus the beach house. He didn't lose. Our first meeting lasted 3 hours. I showed him everything. He looked at me and said, "Mr. Chen, in 22 years of family law, I've never seen documentation this thorough." Second, I moved $180,000 from our joint investment account into a trust my father had set up before he died. A trust Rachel didn't know existed because it was established before we met. Legally, it was never marital property. My father, rest his soul, had always been cautious. He'd insisted on that trust. Protect yourself first, son. Always. I never understood why until now. Third, I documented everything, created encrypted backups on 3 separate drives, uploaded copies to a secure server in Delaware, printed physical copies, 1,247 pages total, and stored them in a safety deposit box at a bank across town. Box number 441, annual fee, $89. Best money I ever spent. Fourth, and this is the part Rachel never anticipated, I started recording. My state has one-party consent laws. I didn't need her permission. Every conversation where she belittled me, every dinner party where she called me useless, every morning where she told me I was lucky she put up with me. I captured all of it, not because I needed more evidence, because I needed everyone else to hear who she really was. For 6 months I played the perfect fool. I let her criticize me, let her spend, let her disappear for work trips that I knew were weekend getaways with Marcus or Jonathan. I even drove her to the airport once, kissed her goodbye, told her I'd miss her. She flew to Miami. I have the hotel receipt. She stayed 3 nights with Devon. During this time, Rachel got bolder. She demanded access to my 401k to diversify our retirement portfolio. I said I'd think about it. She wanted to refinance the house to lower our payments. What she actually wanted was to pull $200,000 in equity and control the funds. I stalled, made excuses, pretended to be the passive, overwhelmed husband she believed I was. "You're so useless with money," she told me one night. "Just sign the papers and let me handle it." I didn't sign. Meanwhile, I discovered something fascinating about Paul Henderson. He wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He'd invested $85,000 of his and Karen's retirement savings into a real estate opportunity that Rachel had pitched him. There was no real estate opportunity. Rachel had funneled that money through 2 shell companies into her personal account. Paul Henderson wasn't just an affair partner, he was a victim. And Karen, sweet, trusting Karen who brought homemade pie to our brunches, had no idea her husband had bankrupted them for my wife. I documented that too. By November, my black box was complete. I had enough evidence to bury Rachel in divorce court, to potentially press criminal charges for fraud, to destroy every relationship she'd carefully cultivated. All I needed was the right moment. She gave it to me herself. December 8th, Rachel insisted on hosting a holiday dinner party. "It's important for my career," she said. "I need you to be charming for once." I smiled. "Of course, whatever you need." She invited 14 people, her parents, my boss and his wife, the Hendersons, 3 couples from her book club, 2 clients she was trying to impress. I offered to handle the wine. She was so pleased that I was finally contributing. What she didn't know was that I'd also invited Raymond Silver to be on standby, and I'd prepared a presentation on my laptop, a comprehensive, time-stamped presentation. The dinner started normally. Rachel was in her element, laughing, charming, making everyone feel special while occasionally glancing at me with that familiar look of contempt. At 8:15 p.m., she made her move. "David, tell everyone about your big project at work." It was a trap. She knew my current project was classified. She wanted me to fumble, to look secretive and awkward. "Actually," I said, "I'd rather talk about your projects, Rachel." She blinked. That wasn't the script. "My projects? Your consulting work. You've been so busy with it lately. Why don't you tell everyone about Richard's investment portfolio, or the real estate opportunity you pitched to Paul?" The room went quiet. Paul Henderson's face drained of color. Rachel laughed, that nervous, brittle laugh. "David, I don't know what you're... Let me help you remember." I pulled out my laptop, connected it to the TV we used for football games. "This is a text message from March 15th, from Marcus, quote, 'Last night was incredible. Same time Thursday.' End quote." Rachel stood up. "David, stop this right now. This is a wire transfer dated April 3rd. $2,500 from Richard Thornton to an account at First Coastal Bank. One of 30 monthly payments. This is insane. He's having a breakdown. This is a hotel receipt from the Fontainebleau Miami Beach, 3 nights. Room charge to Devon Matthews, who, for those who don't know, is married to Rachel's client Jennifer." I looked at Paul. "And this, Paul, is a screenshot of the $85,000 you transferred to Meridian Holdings, LLC, a company that exists only on paper, a company owned by my wife." Karen Henderson started crying. Rachel's mother whispered, "This can't be real." "Every document is authenticated, every transaction verified. I've provided copies to my attorney, who has already filed for divorce. I've also forwarded the relevant financial records to the State Attorney General's office for review." I turned to Rachel. "You called me useless. For 9 years you called me useless. At every dinner party, every family gathering, every quiet night at home." I clicked to the final slide, an audio file. "This is a recording from October 14th. Let's listen together." Her voice filled the room. "David is pathetic. He has no idea. I could sleep with his boss and he'd probably thank me for networking. The only reason I stay is the money. Once I get access to his retirement accounts, I'm done. Marcus and I already have a place picked out." 14 people sat in absolute silence. Rachel's face had gone white. "I'm not useless," I said. "I'm just very, very patient." The divorce was finalized in March. Total legal fees, $47,000. Raymond earned every dollar. Because of the documented fraud, the hidden accounts, the siphoned funds, Paul's stolen investment, Rachel received nothing. No alimony, no claim to my pension, no share of the house she'd insisted we buy. The judge actually paused when reviewing the evidence, looked at Rachel, shook his head. In 23 years on the bench, he said he'd rarely seen such comprehensive deception. The house, by the way, was titled solely in my name, another detail she'd overlooked, because she assumed I was too stupid to understand real estate law. I'd bought it 6 months before our wedding. Premarital asset. Untouchable. My premarital trust, the $180,000 I'd secured, and my retirement accounts remained untouched. Total protected assets, $847,000. Everything I'd built, everything I'd earned, safe. Rachel's consulting income was reported to the IRS. She owed $34,000 in back taxes, plus $12,400 in penalties and interest. I heard she had to sell her BMW to cover it. Paul Henderson filed for divorce from Karen. Then Karen sued Rachel for fraud, $85,000 plus damages, pain and suffering, legal fees. Last I heard, that case is still pending, but Rachel had to hire a defense attorney. Another $15,000 retainer. Richard Thornton's wife found out about the consulting payments. Their 30-year marriage ended. He sent Rachel a final message, 4 words. "You destroyed my life." She never responded. Marcus disappeared. Turns out he wasn't interested in Rachel once she didn't have access to my income. Funny how that works. The man who couldn't stop thinking about her couldn't be reached once the money dried up. Devon Matthews. His wife Jennifer found out. She was one of Rachel's biggest clients. Jennifer's company pulled $340,000 in annual contracts from Rachel's firm. Then she told everyone in her network what happened. Rachel's parents haven't spoken to her since the dinner party. Her father sent me an apology letter, 3 pages, handwritten. He said he wished he'd seen who she really was. He said his daughter had died that night and a stranger had taken her place. I keep that letter in my desk drawer. I'm not sure why. As for me, I sold the house for $687,000, paid off the remaining mortgage, netted $412,000 after fees. Moved into a condo downtown, 14th floor. I can see the river from my home office. Every morning, I drink my coffee and watch the boats go by. I started dating again. Nothing serious, just learning who I am when I'm not being diminished every day. Turns out I'm funny. I never knew that. Rachel told me I had no sense of humor. My co-workers disagree. My therapist says I'm rediscovering my authentic self. I think I'm just finally breathing. Last month, I ran into Karen Henderson at a coffee shop. She looked 10 years younger, happier. She thanked me, said discovering the truth, as painful as it was, saved her from wasting more years with a man who'd betrayed her. We talked for an hour. She's starting over. So am I. I think about the dinner party a lot. 14 people watched Rachel's empire collapse in real time. Watched her lies dissolve like smoke. Watched everything she'd built on manipulation and contempt crumble in 11 minutes. Rachel thought she was the smart one, the strategic one. She thought I was just the quiet guy in the corner who didn't notice anything, the useless husband who was too boring, too passive, too oblivious to ever be a threat. But here's what she never understood. The quiet ones are always watching. We're always analyzing. We see the patterns others miss. And when you give us a reason to apply our skills, we don't get angry. We get thorough. My name is David Chen. I'm 41 years old. I make $214,000 a year doing what I love. I have an apartment with a view, friends who respect me, a future I get to design myself, and I am not useless. I never was. If this case satisfied your need for justice, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more stories about competence, strategy, and the quiet ones winning in the end, consider subscribing, because sometimes the most dangerous person in the room isn't the one shouting, it's the one taking notes.